Not so long ago, I released a video about my hatred of the love triangles. Well, it was actually a condemnation of an anime called Can a Boy Girl Friendship Survive? But it's basically the same thing. And here I am again coming at you with my loathing for any anime built upon a love triangle that you know who is going to win right from the onset of the show, even though it wants to pretend that it might not actually happen. It is a massive waste of time and does nothing but inject the most forced of forced drama into a story that would have been directly improved by the absence of it. Love triangles are just harems that are too impotent to commit to the shtick, and instead commit to the drama just for the sake of the drama. But I digress, lest this video devolve into just me staring at a camera and ranting for minutes on end. On a rather unrelated note, today's anime is called Watari-kun's Garden is About to Collapse, and it follows the story of Naoto Watari, a high school boy who lives with his aunt and younger sister after the deaths of his parents. And let's not forget that because he lost both his parents, his life is now centered largely upon his sister, which does get him made fun of as a siscon, but he doesn't care. He just wants to be a good brother to her. Now, Naoto is in love with the popular girl in his school, a Miss Yukari Ishihara, and she happens to be way out of his league, and he knows this. But he's lucky, because she seems to be giving him the time of day and actually taking an interest in him. He's unlucky, though, because his former childhood friend, Satsuki Tachibana, also happens to show back up around this time and begin very aggressively pestering him. Why is this a problem? Well, he had practically sworn her off after she destroyed his entire garden and then f***ed off to who knows where. So he's really not happy to see her, even though she's clearly somewhat into him. And there it is. There's where our pesky love triangle begins. The childhood friend who sabotaged their relationship as a kid by destroying Naoto's garden. The girl Protag-kun is crushing on, who seems like a nice girl with a troubled past, who is also much more mentally stable than the blonde psychopath. And Protag-kun, the f***er who can't seem to make up his mind as to whom he's gonna date when every one of us on the outside of this story can see the clear and obvious signs that the childhood friend is just gonna win. Even with a predictable plot, the show still could have been fun if the journey there was a good experience. Unfortunately, it's a painful meandering through a protagonist's inability to accept that the girl he has a crush on likes him back, and then he totally has her in the bag if he just sucks it up and commits to it already. But hey, what fun would it be for the protagonist to actually get together with a girl without any sort of major unprompted moral conflict about being worthy of her? Am I right? I do genuinely try not to be overly harsh in my reviews of anime. I really do. When I make these, I generally come at it from the perspective of trying to explain what it is that I like or don't like about them. I try not to make every one of them feel like a complaint fest or repetitive, and to be as fair as possible when reviewing an anime. Even going into just watching an anime, I try to be as fair as possible to it, because oftentimes things that I don't like aren't necessarily bad, and I very rarely actually call an anime bad. But love triangles are really the ultimate waste of time in my opinion, and nothing annoys me more than an anime that wastes my time. It really is not an integral part of this show. If the whole point of this was for Naoto and Satsuki to rekindle their old friendship after a long time apart, then the side quest of Yukari is completely unnecessary for the story. If the point is for Protag-kun to find someone who will accept his family situation or his gardening hobby, then the same can be said of both Yukari and Satsuki. Either one of them could have been removed and that point still would have been able to have been made. And if the point was for Protag-kun to move on from a long-dead friendship with Satsuki, which it most certainly isn't since it is glaringly obvious that he will end up with her by the end of the story, then Satsuki being there to constantly flirt with him is also kind of a gigantic waste of time. So the love triangle is really only put in here for the sake of drama that doesn't actually better the story. Hence, why I hate them. Hence, why I call them impotent harems. But now this show expects me to sit through the whole thing, as it does this whole I like you but don't deserve you song and dance that is clearly an excuse for the writer to not have Protag-kun wind up with the girl who is mutually in love with him and actually confessed her feelings and has zero baggage in their relationship by the end of the story. This is approaching Lazarus levels of wasting my goddamn time. If this anime could have offered me anything else, literally any other worthwhile element for entertainment to work with, I'd actually have mentioned it. In fact, I will do a little bit of devil's advocate against my own point here, because while I do find some of the characters, like Satsuki or Yukari, to be entertaining and endearing respectively, they themselves are components in this love drama game that annoys me to hell and back. I don't find anything about this compelling. And it's not funny. It doesn't actually entertain very well, nor does it do romance in a particularly spectacular way. It is almost the stereotypical hands-off kind of approach to romance that many shows will do. And whatever wholesome elements involved in Yukari accepting Watari's family situation is drowned out by Naoto's inferiority complex. Whatever humor is derived from Satsuki's deranged antics, it's smothered by BS relationship drama that isn't enjoyable. But look, if you actually enjoy the drama of it all, you'll probably like this, so good for you. But I do not. And now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you don't, I may have to steal your dog.